Today, we ask you to watch over not only the Cherokee Nation, but the United States. We ask that you help our leaders make good decisions as well as ourselves. Watch over all our troops around the world and their families, especially this holiday season. Thank you. Amen.
Amen. Roll call, please.
Jack Baker.
Here.
Tara Cowan Watts. Bill England.
Here.
Bill John Baker.
Here.
Harley Buzzer.
Here.
Julia Coates. Here. Bradley Cobb. Joe Crittenden.
Here.
Jody Fishinghawk. Meredith Rayleigh. Here. Janelle Fulbright. Here. Don Garvin. Chuck Hoskin Jr.
Here.
China Glory Jordan. Curtis Snell.
Here.
Chris Soap.
Here.
David Thornton. We do have a quorum.
We do. And I would entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes of the November 17th regular session and November 17th PAC subcommittee.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Next we have our reports, and I will ask that you give the highlights and keep it fairly brief, please. Ms. Ketcher, for the Cherokee Nation.
Thank you. Good morning, Council. You have my written report. The only thing I would add to that is that we did issue a request for proposals on financing for the Bonita Clinic, and those are due back today, so we'll be evaluating those and hopefully start working on financing to get that clinic construction going.
Any questions for Ms. Ketcher?
Thank you.
Thank you. Cherokee Nation Entertainment, Mr. Stewart.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'll keep my reports brief. We seem to have reached somewhat of a new normal. Our gaming revenues, they're holding from last year, but our operating expenses are up. Our payroll is up. We gave our employees, we stuck with it's approximately a 3% merit raise average. And holding employment, in fact, we've added some employees. And so we're trying to manage the expense side of the business with a bigger facility, more employees, with revenue holding, net income is dropping somewhat. So staying with the course and trying to manage the expense side of the business. The projects are on schedule and on budget. The road continues to provide some difficulty there at Catoosa. So I think they're about 30 to 45 days ahead of schedule, so that looks good, but we've still got about a year of that process before that road is complete. I think the tourism department is going well. Molly should have updated you in some of the other committee meetings. So I think that whole department is starting to get some legs to it in terms of providing tours and getting their operations, getting people on board to give the tours. And for those of you that haven't been on one, I would encourage you to do so just to see, what's going on. We opened up our retail store for Cherokee art at Hard Rock. And it's very high end. It's very, very nice. You should come by and see the store. We're working on getting goods to sell and products to sell, original artwork. So this is going to provide additional outlet for our artists to provide, products to sell. So you're going to see a little more of that going on. That would conclude C and E. If you have any questions.
Are there any questions of Mr. Stewart for C and E? Then C and B, please.
Okay, C and B, all the companies, as I reported at council last night, are doing well. C and B continues to provide some governance to the subsidiaries in terms of looking at their operations to ensure that we have best practices in place. So our people are going out to the companies to make sure that all those procedures are in place. And although it's not our responsibility to ensure they're making money, we do feel some responsibility just to look at different aspects of the business to be sure that they're in place, like controls and insurance and some of those things. So we're continuing to work on that process. The combination of the boards is still in process. We're probably, I think, 60 to 90 days away from that. And Tina, I think we've been in discussion on that point. And I think the chief is going to work on that issue over the next 60 to 90 days. So it's essentially in his hands to push that forward. But I wanted to relay that to you, Tina, so that it hasn't dropped off the face of the map. It's still in process.
Appreciate it.
Okay. So I'd be happy to answer any questions about C and B.
Yes, Ms. Fisher.
Construction CNI. It doesn't seem to be doing real good.
Well, as a holding company, as a parent company, we've really stayed away from digging into that, leaving that at the C&I level from just a board management issue. We haven't really taken that on. So I think I'd let Brian respond to that as the CEO of C&I. I'm vaguely familiar with it, but
Well,
not
who
complete.
I need to go, because they're bored, because when they lose money over and over and over, I guess they answer to their board rather than.
Yeah,
the
I
CBA.
think that should be addressed to Brian and his group, and the board specifically. As the holding company and the parent company, we really haven't taken on that responsibility to dig into the company and go any deeper, thinking that it's the board's and the CEO's responsibility to do that.
Thank you.
Councilor Jordan.
David, does the money though come from C&D that's being used at the construction company? Aren't you providing it a line of credit?
Yes, we are. Yeah, we are providing some bonding capability to all of the different companies, and also a credit line to C&I. So yes, we have at their request.
So at some point, your board will need to look at whether that line of credit is approved, is that correct?
Yes, and from a business standpoint, the board of that company essentially has the responsibility for authorizing the note, and then basically we look at it to make sure that process is followed, that the board's approved it, and that there is some due diligence at the C&I level. And then once C&I decides that they need the credit line, they request it. And then what we do is go through a process that says, okay, did the board request it? Do we have it? Does it meet? We have some allocation that we give to the different companies, and as long as they're not over their allocation, then we go ahead and make the loan.
But if CMD's goal is to invest in profit-making companies,
Right.
if we're consistently seeing a company that we're investing in not making a profit, is there a point where your board will need to look at the ability of you as CMD to continue the function of providing them funds?
Yes, I mean, I think there's a point, and at this point, they're at a break even or slightly positive going into this year. So we don't see a significant detriment, I guess, or an event that would cause us to think that they're just not going to make it. I've talked to Brian personally about some of his backlog, and they have made great strides in obtaining several long-term contracts. And the execution of those contracts sometimes takes a little longer than you think because it's the government. So they've got a couple of issues. They have to get, I think, their systems in place. There's an audit out there that says you need to get systems, so they're working on that. They're working to get the infrastructure ready to execute on those contracts that are in place. So I think they're at a critical point where they are going to take advantage of a lot of the work that they've been, But again, I'm not intimately in knowledge of it. I haven't stepped in to review it personally. I've just had conversations with Brian. So
We as a CMB as an entity though looks at all of its investments to make sure periodically that they're producing a return that is justified.
Absolutely. Yes. So,
Speaker Fraley.
Yes, Dave, thanks for your efforts in diversifying our portfolio. One concern I have is when we diversify and acquire a company, how do we grow our employees over those leadership roles? In particular, if we buy a company and you need someone strong to go in right at that point, how are we developing our employees to do that?
well, at C&E, I can speak to that because I've been there for a while. We have a leadership program that we go through. We identify high potential employees, and they're a part of that leadership program. And it essentially tries to educate them about the process here, about the tribe, about the intricacies of the politics, and it also develops them as leaders. And I have a person who works full-time for me, Bob Schooley, that does that. So we've made a concentrated effort to develop people, and a good example is Steve Bilby, who worked for us as director of IT, and now he's the CEO of the new company. So it does work. And so we have and I'm starting to see now that at the C&B level that is really a constraint for us, is to have people that at the right time, in the right business, with the right talent for us to diversify. So one of the things that we're going to have to recognize is that we may not have a Cherokee at that time, but if we have the processes to train and develop, then eventually that Cherokee will be ready. So what we will do if we're going to diversify quickly is we're going to have to give up maybe on having Cherokees right then in order to get the business going, knowing full well that we have to have succession plan and people in place. So what we're doing now is we're going to all the subsidiaries and we're looking for talent to put Cherokees in that company to start learning from the current CEO, so that we have bench strength and a succession plan. But those are long-term goals, and they don't just happen overnight. So I think at C&E we've done a pretty good job. We can always do better, but now we need to exert that same kind of process at all the subsidiaries. So that's what we're doing, and it's a slow process, but it's one that we've got to get on, because in the long term that's going to be a key to success for us.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilor Buzzard, did you have
No, after Gordon from that question.
Councilor Smith?
Yes, Mr. Stewart.
Yes.
You said you was providing bonding with C&I.
Yes.
What type of bonding are you providing?
Well, the C&I and the companies don't have a lot of experience in bonding and a lot of history. And as you know, a bonding company looks at history to develop how much bonding capability they're going to give you. So for us to get started, we had to put dollar for dollar up on our bond, because the bonding company, we're not going to sign a waiver of sovereign immunity, and we're not going to waive that. So when the bonding company says, well, if you don't perform on your bond, then we can't go against you to get our money back. So given those issues, we've put dollar for dollar up to bond, and so that is available to C&I to use. Now, as I recall, they've only used a small portion of that, maybe $5 million. We put some letters of credit up, and then our next step is to go to a third-party agent that essentially manages the funds of the contract, and then we only have to put up 20% of the bonding. And it's much better on us, but it's a little more, administratively, it's a little more cumbersome. But it's a third party that essentially takes the funds from the government. They make sure that the bills are paid, so that they're not worried about default on the bond.
Secure type bond?
Yeah, it's a payment and performance bond.
Thank you.
Right.
Councilor Fishing-Hawk?
Is Schooley Cherokee?
No, he's not. He has his doctorate in organizational effectiveness, and He's very good. He was my right hand as a consultant for a while. But he's very good at leadership and developing the programs for people to learn business and leadership skills. And he involves me in that. I go in and, he has a whole program. He does analysis on what the talents are and what they aren't. So that's the way I'm addressing that right now. But he is not Cherokee.
Is he an employee or is he on contract?
No, he's an employee.
Okay, thank you.
But I think you'd be fairly impressed with the program that we have for those leaders in the different classes. We have about 3 different classes that are going on right now. Some upper management and some I'm pushing it down into middle and then lower management, so that we have people, in 5 years that have been through the program. Just start at the top. We've got to get down and let people grow. So I'd encourage you to find out. It's a really good program.
Any other questions for Mr. Stewart? Councilor Watts.
I would be very interested, because even at the board level, I don't think we've seen what that means. And I would be more comfortable with details, not getting it, but I would like to understand. So when I do have questions or feedback, we could be more candid about pushing the employees back to what that program is and understanding what that work is he does in particular. So.
Okay. We do have a PowerPoint that I think we've put together. It may have been several months ago, but I can get you a copy of that.
That would be great.
And basically what they do is they sit down and they do it's a third party that does an analysis of their skills, their skill sets, what they have, and then we look at what they need, and then we develop programs to help them get to where they need to be. So it's a very formal process, and it's not just something that somebody thought of. It's a very well-known program. So I'll get you a copy of that.
Thank you.
Councilor
Chairman,
President.
is it okay if I go back and ask him a question on C&E?
Yes.
Since you're up there. David, I didn't ask you a while ago, but in comparison to Catoosa, West Siloam Springs, and our other casinos, what are the number of patrons going into those establishments? Are they reduction about the same percentages? Or is Catoosa down more because of road construction?
Well, it's
Can you tell?
what happened is, we developed the project. The economy recession hits, so you have to keep building. You can't stop building. All right. So what happens is you plan on people spending more based on the economy building, right? And then what happens is everybody shuts their wallet down and they hold their wallet at about the same thing where they were before. So what's happened is we're positioned for when the economy turns, but everybody's wallet share is they're holding tight. All right, so the revenue is holding, which I think is a positive note. When you look at the fact that we have competition in Tulsa, we have the road construction, and we're still holding or slightly lower than our revenue from last year, I think that's a pretty good story. Now our expenses are up because it takes more to operate a bigger facility. So we're not going to have any layoffs. We went ahead and gave our people their raises, their merit raises. We didn't cut that. So we're banking, essentially on the future to be positioned when the road construction gets finished, the economy turns, we're going to be positioned very well. So, if you talk to people about construction, they can tell you that it might deter as much as 15 or 20%. But it's hard to gauge. Now, I can say that I think the Hard Rock brand, has allowed us to maintain that revenue stream and keep it constant and given us a differentiator in this time where we need all we can get. So I think we have to look at it. It's a long-term play. We've got to ride out this economic turn. And if you look at other gaming companies across the country, their revenues are down 20%. Their revenues are actually going down. And ours are holding, our expense side's up. So I would say that overall it's challenging, but it's a good story. We don't have a lot of debt. And a lot of these properties are built off debt. And we've got a very conservative approach to pay off the debt early, which I think we need to stay with. We need to put all of our money back into paying that debt off. and allow us to expand and diversify and all those things during this time.
Okay.
Is that
Thank you,
it?
Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions for Mr. Stewart? We appreciate it
All
very
right.
much.
Happy holiday.
Thank you. Next, Cherokee Nation Industries, Mr. DeBoerstein.
I just wanted to say one thing to Mr. Stewart. I certainly appreciate the turkeys.
Oh, okay.
The folks that we gave them out to were very appreciative of it too. You made quite an impact.
Well, thank you. Well, it's been a great holiday. Our employees, I think I mentioned this last night, bought 500 angels. So they're really active and excited, and I just think it's a great indication of our employee morale and all those things going into it.
Thank you. Mr. DeBoerstein.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We are still in the process of closing our results for the month of November, so I do not have my report for you this month, but I can try to answer any questions you may have about CNI.
Yes, Ms. Fisher.
Yeah, I've talked to Bassett for several times, and do you all have the contract on Bassett?
Yes, we do.
So you all are the generals and accepting bids,
Yes.
and we're looking to make money out of this one?
Yes. Yes, we are.
Thank you.
And on, just for your information on the Bixby project, we are substantially complete, and we're going to be meeting with the owner on Monday to walk through the facility.
Any other question? Yes, Councilor Vice.
On the Biggie project, Robert, is that going to be at a loss on that particular project?
Yes, that will be.
Anything further? Okay. Councilor Jordan.
Are we still continuing down the path of trying to recoup that loss?
Yes, ma'am.
From the
Brian
individuals?
is working with an outside counsel to develop that plan.
Okay.
Any other questions? Appreciate it, Mr. DeBoerstein.
Happy holidays.
Thank you. You too. Career Services, Diane Kelly.
Okay, you have my report, and this is a combined report of the Commerce Department and our Taro office. And if you've got any questions about that, I'll be glad to answer any of those questions. Yesterday, in one of the committees, I talked about the day work program. I have the report here for you. I apologize, I thought you had already received it. There you go. This is a chart that shows you the total number of day work participants by county from October 1, 2009 to December the 4th. It's broken out by counties. We've got a total number, average number, first time day work, and total number of returning participants, those that have been referred to social skills. And that number will go up next month because Kelly Forrest is the person that will be teaching that. And then our maximum days that we start out with, and then over a period of time they could go up to 12 weeks in a given year. And then we've referred to the Taro Job Bank. Several of them have received jobs, and adult education is soaring as a result of it. And then the back page, Councilman Buzzard had asked for those non-tribal members that got caught in that first sweep, and that list is on the back. And I would ask that you would run through that, those names. And then we've got the number of participant and incidents. And the incident report basically is where the people have either falsified a timesheet, or else they didn't show up for work, or some other reason. So we did have an incident, and we're using our day work program to help monitor that. They're doing a really good job. In fact, I was down there this morning, and we don't have enough job sites. We're running out of job sites because the weather's gotten cold and there's not a lot of stuff going on outside right now. And I had to go down there in the hallway and tell them that you'll be first on the list tomorrow and you'll get placed tomorrow if you get sent home today. So
we're having to do that. And the back is a narrative of the projections, and it kind of gives you an idea of what we're forecasting for the rest of the year, but we'll have to wait and see.
Councilor Jordan.
Diane, is there a time when we're thinking about maybe expanding the job position base by maybe going into public, the county government or the city government and seeing if there's a...
Tana, there is no way that we can go outside the tribal government. We can't even keep up with the tribal government. We just don't. The problem is we have resources for a program that has no money for manpower. And I'm having to use existing staff who are paid out of federal grants to do other things. And I'm having to use...
I think we would probably get into some liability situations and some other things that I want to keep everybody working, that we've got money to keep working, because it's crunch time for a lot of these folks.
Well, I can tell you when we're going to run into a problem. About March, we're going to be in the schools getting ready to gear up for the summer program. And I'm not really sure how we're going to do it.
Because you're going to find a way, though.
Well, yes, I will. Yeah, in fact, we're going to be working on that probably right after Christmas on how we're going to do that.
Okay.
Any questions? Thank you.
Councilor Cobb.
Just briefly kind of give me a rundown on this non-tribal member on the page number 4. How did that?
When we started the program, you know that there are people who still have their CDIB cards or they have their membership cards, but they were relinquished. And when we first started, we had a rash of people that came in. We put them on the program based on what they gave us. And then within about 3 weeks into the program, when Jeff Vance was put over there, we started putting things in place. And Jeff assigned an individual to work with Leela Umerkiski's office, and as a result of that, we detected that there was about 6 to 7 that did not actually meet the criteria because they had relinquished them, and it was noted in their office.
No, that answers my question. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Kelly? Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next is Commerce, Hannah Nye.
Morning.
Good morning.
You have a copy of my report, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Ms. Knight?
Thank you very much.
Okay. Next are our consent items. By the way, on our agenda, we have under reports Historical Society and the Cherokee Nation Education Corporation. They report quarterly, and they should not have been on this month's agenda. Okay, our consent items, Mr. Evans. First we have our tarot certifications, which was passed out today. They were not included in the packet. So I would entertain a motion for their approval. Ms. Watts.
I have a question about them before we consider them.
Okay.
Because Grace Medical potentially has a conflict of interest for all of us on it. I'm unclear if that's, I want to just make sure before I vote on it, if that's our Doug Evans that's a percentage owner, or if that's...
No, I'm no percentage owner of Grace Medical.
Just making sure.
Well, but I will clarify, I believe 4 years ago, I believe it was 2005, the owners of Grace Medical asked me to be involved in helping get that company set up. And I assisted them in their documentation with the state, with their financial system, with their retail system. And after the first year, they gave me stock ownership in the company. So after that, I turned around and gave it back to them. And for 2 or 3 years, at least now, I haven't had no equity position in that company at all, or involvement in the operations either.
Well, the report is still showing that you have 20%.
That report's incorrect. And I'd be happy to provide all the corporate documentation to you to show you.
Okay.
I will make a motion, but we're going to have to table that one item until that documentation is provided, just to make sure it's clear. I mean, because you've got licensure, you're one of
Absolutely.
our employees.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm not sure
It
why.
shows 20%.
I know for a fact that all the documents were turned into the Terrell office because I
On
I mean,
our
I know.
presentation submitted for this meeting, it shows him as a 20% owner.
Okay, well, first, you're making a motion to approve all, but
Table the one item,
is there a second or
just to
motion?
be clear.
Okay, motion made and second. Okay. Counselor Fishinghawk, good.
Yeah, well, I just had a question. Is there any way, instead of tabling it, I don't know what you do, just put it on hold so between now and the council that they can prove it so we won't hold them up for a month, next month at council?
Well, these normally do not go to full council.
Oh, they don't?
No. Mr.
Okay.
Embry?
Well, based on Mr. Evans's representation, I would have no reason to doubt that he's not an owner. However, let's say even if he was, there would still be no conflict of interest in the council taking the action. The action is it a Terrell qualified company has 51% ownership. He's an employee. I know that I put in for a Terrell certification, and I would hope that you all would accept my Terrell certification, even though I've done work for you. So the mere fact that he is an employee of the Cherokee Nation, and in particular employee of the council, I don't see that there would be any conflict of interest in that, unless you have exercised some type of undue influence in order to get this item passed. That's just what I'm just saying that for council information. I'll look into it, but I don't see any conflict of interest.
I'm not an owner. Okay. Well, the motion's been made and seconded that we approve all except that one.
Secretary Knight is in front of us. I don't know if you would like an opportunity.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to say that I concur with what your council has said. Even if Doug were an owner, it's not a conflict to be Terrell certified. Where the conflict discussion comes in when employees are involved is if we do business with that business, then there's an assessment as to whether there's conflict in that situation, and the AG's office reviews those. So we would see no conflict in a Terrell certification going forward in either event. So.
I'll withdraw my motion so that somebody can figure out what they want to do.
And I'll take whatever necessary steps to get the documentation here today. I think I've got all the documents myself.
So you're withdrawing the motion.
Yeah, and then
Is there
I'm not sure what I. So I'll just.
is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve all of them.
Second. Okay. Any discussion? So all those in favor of approving all of them signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
One abstention.
One abstention. Okay. Very good. So, Mr. Evans, I believe you have the cemetery restoration assistance.
The first item, cemeteries?
Yes.
Okay, there are 3 cemeteries on the report. There are 3 additional cemeteries: Garvin Cemetery, Sequoia County, Piney Cemetery, Delaware, and O'Field Cemetery, Delaware.
And what are the other 3?
The 3 that are in the report are Keener in Cherokee, McKee Cemetery in Sequoia, and Long Prairie Cemetery in Delaware. 6 in total.
Okay, motion's been made to approve. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? One abstention. Mr. Bowden. Okay, the law enforcement request
There are none this
and roads.
No roads this month.
Okay. So next we have our old business. Item 1 concerning Tiro. Under old business.
Move to table.
Second.
All those in favor of tabling signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
One opposed. Okay. Number 1 is tabled. Item number 2.
Move to table.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
One opposed. It's tabled. Item 3 is also Otero. Do I have a motion for its approval?
Move table.
Second.
All those in favor of tabling signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
One opposed. Item 4 is an act enabling community assistance distribution to Cherokee Nation community organizations. Councilor Hoskin.
Mr. Chairman, I withdraw that.
Okay. Item 4 is withdrawn. Item 5 is Cherokee Nation Election Commission compensation. Councilor Brady.
For the election commissioners that are here, the election commission submitted a budget, and in that budget, you included your compensation. So if you need to change that compensation, it's not, in my opinion, not the council's responsibility because you are an independent commission. And Mr. Hembry has done some research on this, and you want to make a comment, Todd?
Yes, Councilwoman Fraley. Well, and I'll address the council. In our FY budget, the election commission submitted a budget. Part of that line item in that budget was for commissioners' compensation. I would, especially given the language in the election law about preserving the independence of the election commission, I'd be hesitant for the council to take an action either raising or lowering that compensation. They have the purview to act within their budget. If they feel that the compensation needs to be increased or decreased, it is within their power to do so. If at some point that they feel that there needs to be a budget modification, they would need to come to this council and then ask for additional monies. But I know that the administration has also been working on guidelines or set of principles for a uniform evaluation of all boards and commissions, and that's where I would leave it. So at this point, I would recommend that the council take no action and leave it within the purview for the independence of the election commission.
Okay. So, Councilor Fraley, do you want to withdraw
Yes.
this item?
Yes, please.
Okay. Item 5 is withdrawn. Under new business, item 1 is also a Otero Act. Do I hear a motion for its approval?
I think we have agreed to table that one. I make that a motion.
Till next month.
Yeah, to stay with the other 3.
Okay, the motion's been made to table item 1. Is there a second?
Second.
And now next month? Okay. The others were just tabled.
No, we want this one for next month.
Okay.
Okay. So, motion's been made to table item 1 until next month. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Councilor Fishinghawk.
No, I was just making sure that 1, 2, and 3 were tabled, and then this one's for next month.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, these were just tabled, so they don't come back.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Excuse me.
Okay. Item 2 under new business is our budget mod. Mr. Evans.
Briefly, this month's budget mod included some grants that came in for COPS Tribal Resource, almost $400,000 grant there. We had some cancer program carryover adjustments that reduced the budget for this year, $357,000, and another grant came in our own words grant. Those are federal grants. The budget mod itself is a decrease of $258,000. Which is a result of primarily a decrease in the NAHASDA program 2009 IHP funding. The carryover adjustment from last year, the MAP program had heavy activity in the last 4 or 5 months of the year, and that reduction is $405,000. That's slightly offset with some increases primarily on the DOI Self-Governance Fund of $130,000 for an energy and mineral development grant funding that came in related to planning and development of a hydroelectric power facility. And they were awarded in late September, so this is a timely response. There's some reallocations in the budget in IHS Health Department between the Contracts Department and Clinical Support Group. Those two are reallocating over to the Quality Improvement Department. They're just doing some shifting within the ranks, as well as a couple of other reallocations in the indirect cost pool between Management Resource Group, Planning and Development, as well as Internal Lease Fund, where they got ground maintenance and building maintenance. We're moving some funds around. That's the extent of the net impact of this budget line.
Do I hear a motion for its approval?
So moved.
And second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the budget bond. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. And under announcement, our next meeting is January 28th at 3.
Move for adjournment.
That was by acclamation, right?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And everyone have a happy holiday.